So, hi everybody, and welcome to my talk, DDD in Large Product Portfolios. So, my name is Andreas Pinhammer. I work as a business architect at R&V. R&V is a German insurance company. And you can find me on social media if you like, but I don't post a lot of stuff there, so don't be disappointed. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about my company, not because I want to sell you some products. I don't want get any commission anyway. So I think it's necessary because this is more kind of a field report. So I want to give you some background information. And we are the second largest insurer in Germany. So we are quite a big company. And we do all different kind of insurance. So we are a general insurer. So we sell like life insurance products, health insurance, non-life insurance for both private customers as well as corporate customers. And we are part of a cooperative group of banks. So we have very strong ties to the banks that we're working with. And so the distribution channel to the banks is very important for us, because our agencies are co-located at the banking branches. And I want to tell you a little bit about our journey. And this journey started in 2020, so about half a year after I joined the company. And I work for the P&C insurance segment, so that's property and casualty insurance, basically everything except life insurance and health insurance. And we had some very old mainframe systems, about 30 years old. And we had some processes that have been digitalized, but well, there were still some kind of paper-based processes. So if you take a paper-based process and you put the paper into a PDF, you still have a paper-based process. Yeah? It's just digital now. And from the market perspective, we knew that the customer average age was increasing. So our customers were getting older and older, and we had some issues to sell our products to younger customers. And our management wanted to improve the time to market. In the legacy world, we were still relying on 3 main releases a year, and there was a lot of tight coupling, and we needed a lot of lead time to get something into production. So they decided that we should make a new initiative, and this initiative should start on greenfield, because we want to get rid of all these dependencies that were blocking us, that were struggling us. And so we wanted to try some of new concepts for us because we hadn't any experience in domain-driven design yet. So there was part of the concept was to try some new ideas, some new methodologies, some new concepts. We wanted to do it really agile. They funded us with 8 cross-functional teams. And our mission was to start focusing on private customers and building products for them. And our first product was the personal liability insurance. That's a very common product in Germany. It's the most common voluntary product in Germany. So over 80% of all German citizens have this kind of insurance. And it's the product that gives you protection against claims resulting from damage or injuries to other people or property. And it's a very simple product. It's not very complicated, not very complex. It's one of our simplest products in our portfolio. So we asked ourselves, how can we start such a big initiative? I mean, at that time I was really, really frightened because we knew that there would be 8 teams, not all at once, but 8 teams is a lot, and we didn't have any plan, so what we could do with them. So we literally started with a blank page. And I had done a lot of shitty agile projects in the past, and I wanted to really make it happen this time, to make it good. And I knew that we would start in a lot of chaos. There won't be a lot of autonomy in the teams. You can't have autonomy in a chaos. That's not possible. But we had some very smart consultants, DDD consultants. We had the guys from Workplace Solutions, and if you have some time, please go to their booth and visit them. They're really great guys. And they hinted us towards the inverse convey maneuver. Yeah? So it's a DDD conference. I guess you all know Conway's law. So basically that the system architecture will follow your organization. Yeah? And the idea behind the inverse convey maneuver is to make use of this Conway's law to get an architecture that's perfectly aligned with your business. And the idea is that you start with discovering your subdomain boundaries. And after you have discovered your subdomains, you align your team structure with those subdomains. And then if you did it all right, the system architecture will follow your domain boundaries. And the best way to discover subdomain boundaries is collaborative modeling. So it's kind of a mission impossible to get an event storming on a slide, but I tried, and I omitted a lot of events. And so this is the basic insurance takeout process. Yeah? So if you go and want to buy a personal liability insurance, that's typically the process you have to go through. Yeah? So we collect some tariff criteria. So that's, for instance, if you want you just insured for yourself, or you want to have your partner insured as well, or maybe your kids. Then we calculate the premium. That's the price you have to pay for the insurance. We capture some information about the policyholder. That's the guy who buys the insurance, because for some compliance and regulations. So his name, his date of birth, his nationality. And then finally, we issue a policy document. That's the document that describes everything that's covered by your insurance. And finally, we can collect the money from the customer, and the premium is paid. So then we start to look for the point of no returns, yeah? the pivotal events, the boundary events. And in this example, we have 3 boundary events identified. The insurance contract concluded, the policy issued, and the premium paid. And now that we have the boundaries, we just have to find some names for the subdomains that lie between these boundaries. Yeah? So the first subdomain is the sales subdomain. Then we have the policy issuing subdomain and the payment subdomain. So very straightforward, yeah? Just really by the book. After that, we continued with context mapping, and this looks like our first context map. Again, it's a bit simplified. Yeah, we had some context is more, but just that you get some idea of it. So we have a mapping from subdomain to context, and it's one-to-one. So we have our sales context, our policy issuing context, our payment context, and our pricing context. Now, the pricing context was something we discovered in another event storming. Yeah. But additionally, there was also, then we assigned the teams to the bounded contexts. And so each bounded context is developed by one team. But we also had this guy in the bottom right corner, the product designer. And the product designer was the guy who knows best about the product. Yeah? So he knows how the pricing should be for the product. He knows how the policy issuing should work for the product, what should be in the policy document. So he knows all the detailed information to bring a product to the customer. Yeah? And he was kind of pulling the strings. Yeah? He was kind of pulling the strings to the teams and telling them how they should implement the pricing for his product. And the architecture worked quite well. So we had a go live after 1 year. We had an online takeout process. We even started to sell it via other distribution channels like the agencies and the banks. But our sales representatives were not really satisfied, because they were kind of complaining, yeah, it's more like an MVP and we need more features and more functionality. We can't sell it to the customer and the banks. And so they weren't that really happy at that time. But we started to ask ourselves, how can we how does this architecture actually scale for multiple products? Because it's still a single product system. It's not a product it's not an architecture that would work for multiple products. And so we urged our product management and said to them, we have to start with the second product. We have to start now. Because otherwise, if you make a very early design decision, you can get a very unfavorable architecture. And we were very worried about it when we just invest more on this single product in the first product, and we then try to shift to a second product, it would be just too late to adjust. So we urged our product management, and it was not a really easy decision, because the sales representatives were still complaining that the first product wasn't complete yet. But finally we convinced them, and we started with the second product. And this time it's the household content insurance product. It's also a product that's very common in Germany, so over 70% of all Germans have this insurance. And it's kind of special in the German market, because in Germany, we don't have that much house owners, so the most people rent their flat or their apartment or their house. And if you rent an apartment in Germany, it's typically unfurnished. So you have to buy all the furniture. You even have to buy a kitchen, and this costs a lot of money. So it's good to have some protection, though, just in case there's some burglary or some fire or something else, to protect all the content in your household. And we just repeated the same approach that we did with the first product. So we started with an events domain with collaborative modeling. And again, this is our household content insurance takeout process. So the same process with another product. And it looks pretty much the same. So we collect the tariff criteria from the customer, we calculate the premium, we capture some information about the policyholder, the insurance contract gets concluded, then we can issue the policy document, send it to the customer, and collect the money, collect the premium for the customer. The boundary events are still identical, because nothing has really changed in the process. And so do the subdomains. They're still identical. We have the sales subdomain, we have the policy issuing subdomain, and we have the payment subdomain. So, non-surprisingly, our new context map looked quite identical. So you have the sales bounded context, the policy issuing bounded context, the payment bounded context, and the pricing bounded context. And the only thing that has changed now, and there's a second product designer, because the product designer for the household content insurance is another person than the product designer for the general liability, personal liability insurance. So there are two different persons. And each one is an expert for his product or her product. And now we have two product designers that were pulling at the teams. And we're giving them information how they should actually implement their product in their subdomain. So the second product kind of confirmed our context map, right? So we have the same identical events, we have the same subdomains, the actors are still the same, they are all identical. So, yeah, this is just fine, So it just took me 90 minutes. Well, of course, it was not fine, because we encountered some issues, some problems. And the first one was that we needed a lot of backlog alignment, because when you change the product, we have multiple teams involved and several handoffs. So we have a handoff between the product designer and the teams, and we had a handoff between the teams as well, because if one team adds some functionality, the other team must react on it. So the team backlogs need to be carefully aligned to the dependencies, and that. So there's some danger that we get still in some kind of a waterfall process again. And the product experience, the feedback loop to the product designer was hindered because he was not part of the team. So he didn't get the feedback by the developers, and he didn't get the feedback from the customers. So when they were complaining. And each team had very little impact on the overall product experience. So one of the team was actually complaining to us and saying, well, we're just doing what that guy there, what that product designer says. No? We don't have a real impact on the product. We can't create value for the customers. No? We can just make the document a little bit more beautiful, but that's it. Yeah? So some of the teams were missing a purpose. Yeah? They were missing, they didn't have a really identity. Yeah? So, and the third problem we encountered was that team size and cognitive load, because every product that you add to the team adds cognitive load to the team. Yeah? So they have to deal with that new product and how it works and what are the specialities of this product. And the team size itself is limited. Yeah? So you can't just put more people to the team. You can't just put another 10, 20 developers in a team. That just wouldn't work. Yeah? So you may ask, why do additional products add cognitive load to a team? I mean, if you're a retailer and you have another product in your portfolio, it's just a new description, maybe a new picture, yeah, new title, and that's it. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you sell 100 sports shoes or 200 or 300. Yeah? It doesn't make a really difference. Doesn't really make a difference. But in the insurance market, it's a little bit different, yeah, because the language between those products differs largely. So in case of the personal liability insurance, we talk about defense against claims, we talk about insured persons, we talk about the Mallorca coverage. Yeah? So Germans love to travel to Mallorca, and they typically get a car there, they rent a car, so they get some extra protection for the car rental. Yeah? Yeah, or we're talking about a claimant, yeah? Someone who has a claim against you. Yeah? And for the household content insurance, we also have a different language. So we're talking about insured locations, or where you're living. Yeah? We're talking about rating districts. So maybe you're living in an area that's more dangerous than another area, and you have to pay a higher premium, yeah, to compensate this. And we're talking about burglary or types of buildings. Yeah? But not only the language between the products differ, but the customer needs to differ too. So for the personal liability insurance, yeah, maybe you get married and then you want your partner to be included into your policy. Yeah? Or your neighbor is mad at you because you've broken his window by playing soccer. Yeah? Or someone falsely accused you of damaging his car. Now you need some protection. Maybe you need to go to court, yeah? And you need some support for this. Yeah? And for the household content insurance, there are other needs, like you moved into a bigger house. Now you have more place and more room and more stuff you can buy and put therein. So I guess you have to pay a higher premium because you have more space and more stuff in it. Or someone stole your electronic equipment and now it needs to get replaced. Huh? Or you bought a new e-bike and you want it to be protected too, so it should be included into your policy. So we came to the conclusion that distinct products are independent subdomains. Yeah? They solve different problems. And if we now remember the inverse Conway maneuver and Conway's law, and that the team structure should be aligned to the domain boundaries, and that a product is a subdomain, then a product should be assigned to exactly one organizational unit. Yeah? So, and we knew that we were gonna build 30, 40, 50 products in the future. Yeah, and that's really a lot of stuff. So we had the vision that one team should be able to develop and maintain a product during its complete life cycle. So, and if you remember again Conway's law on the inverse Conway maneuver, and that the system architecture follows the organization, you get a really nice definition of a product. So for us, a product is a socio-technical system that delivers value to a customer. Okay, so how can we make it feasible? We knew that building each product from scratch would just take too long. Yeah? So we needed a year for the first product. Yeah? And the product wasn't really complete. Yeah? So product is more than just a takeout process. There are some really complicated processes that you need to support. And there are still a lot of similarities between all those products. So we thought there must be some leverage by using the economy of scope. Yeah? So building the fourth product or the fifth product shouldn't take as long as building the first product. Even a different team would build it. Yeah? And this statement is from Team Topologies, and I can't recommend this book enough. Yeah? It's really an eye-opener for me, and if you haven't read it yet, go there and buy it. Yeah? It's the best decision you can make. And they state that, of course, the solution is a platform. Yeah? So if you use a platform that's designed to reduce the cognitive load for the teams building software on top of it. And so the idea is that you have several teams, and you have some streamlined teams. Well, and our product teams would be some streamlined teams that are in the flow of change. Yeah? So you can make the changes to the product without having to interact with other teams. And you have some platform teams that are supporting them, and that delivering some internal products to them. So our idea was that we have our subdomains. We have the customer on top, we have the personal liability insurance, the household content insurance, and our shared subdomains, somehow shared subdomains like sales, pricing, policy, and issuing, and payment. And we thought that this would be the perfect candidates for a platform. So some of you might think, the platform, isn't it something more technical, like a cloud platform, or you have some CI/CD platform, or something else, a data platform. Yeah? But we are thinking more of a business platform that provides business capabilities and business products. So our picture was that we have some insurance products on top. Then we have some platform products that provide subdomains, complete subdomains. And we have an additional layer for platform products that provide business capabilities for a process that you need, that you can share. And on the bottom, you have the technical platform that provides all the technical capabilities you need to create a product. So the platform product team would not only deliver value to the insurance product team, but it would also interact with the customer directly. So it will be streamlined to both the customer needs and to the needs of the insurance product team. Yeah, that was the idea. So, but how can we identify those platform products? Yeah? And what we found very useful was a heuristic we called product specificity. And it describes how much product knowledge you need for a specific capability or subdomain. Yeah? And I'll give you some example. So we take a look again at our insurance takeout process. And we have tried to rate those subdomains, how product specific they are. So the sales subdomain is very product specific. So you have the tariff criteria, and they differ largely between those products. And the premium calculation differs as well. And the same for the policy issuing. Yeah? So the document, both produce a document, but the content of the document is completely different. But the payment subdomain, for instance, it's not really that product specific. Yeah? You just collect the money from the customer. You just need to know what is the amount and when the money is due, and then you can collect the money, and that's it. So it's not really product specific, or as we call it, it's more product agnostic. So now we revised our context map according to the product specificity, and this was the result. So now we have, instead of our 4 contexts, we now have 3 contexts. So we have the personal liability context, the household context, and the payment context. And it looks very easy, yeah? So just shifted some boxes, but this was a really painful process for us. It took a long time because you need to have a lot of conversation with the teams and to persuade them that this is a good idea. So some of the teams were very enthusiastic about it. Yeah? They really liked the idea and see all the advantages. But some other teams were more reluctant. Yeah? So we didn't do a big bang reorganization or so, but we started with a kind of a proof of concept with one team that built the household content insurance. And we're still transforming our application landscape. Yeah? It's still in process. And now the product designer is not an external anymore, though he's part of the team. So he's part of the team of the personal liability insurance or the household content insurance. And the payment context is, as we say, product agnostic, so it shouldn't have any product knowledge inside. And the product knowledge should only be in the household content context. And this also affects, when you're using an event-driven architecture, it also affects your events. So in that case, we have both insurance products, and they produce a shared product-agnostic event, the policy-issued event, so that all other contexts that need the information that a policy has been issued can work with it without having any need to know about what kind of product it is. So the event itself must be product-agnostic as well. And now the second layer is that the first layer was to looking at the subdomains, and now we look at the shared business capabilities and behavior, because although you have a business process that might be more product specific, there often are some capabilities that you can share because the capabilities themselves are not that are more agnostic. Yeah? So let's take a look at our takeout process, and we figured out that anti-tariff criteria is still something very product specific. Yeah? So we need information about the product for the premium calculation as well. But to capture the policyholder, you don't need to know about the product. Yeah? It just doesn't matter. You just capture the information you need for compliance. Yeah? And the same for the payment methods. Yeah? So you don't need to know what kind of product it is. You just need to know if he wants to use direct debit or credit card, and you need the account number of the policyholder, and that's it. So, and this really influences your modeling as well. Yeah? So here's an example. So this is a class called payment provider. And this payment provider has a method called getEligiblePaymentMethods. And inside this method, there's some knowledge about the product, because it distinguishes between the products to select the payment methods that are eligible for the customer. So in this case, we have credit card, PayPal, and direct debit. But if you have another product, there might be some good reasons to not support credit card, because maybe you had a lot of fraud, and a lot of bad experience with that kind of payment method. So, but instead of modeling like this, with all the knowledge inside the payment provider, you have to shift the knowledge about the product to the product. Yeah? So the product creates the payment provider, and he tells the payment provider which payment methods should be eligible. So you might wonder, isn't product specific the same as the codomain? Yeah? And yeah, so usually if you create a product, it should be part of your codomain. Yeah? Otherwise you won't create it by yourself. You would just buy it. But here you can see Amy van der Meijklikjes, and she's a German host. She's not Dutch. It's her artist name, I think. And she's our testimonial for our membership benefit program. So if you're a cooperative member of our banks, you can get a cashback on your paid premium. So if all the cooperative members of the bank perform very good, they don't have a lot of damages and not a lot of claims, so you get 5%, 10% cashback on your premium. And this is not product specific. You can use it for all the different products that we build. But it's clearly something that distinguishes us in the market, because we are one of the, at least in the German market, we are the only cooperative insurer at that scale. So, short recap. So we had the problem that initially the changes to a product involves multiple teams and several handoffs. And now the teams can build products with minimal team dependencies. And if you would like to scale, if you'd like to get faster, to accelerate, we can just staff another team to build another product. It would be possible. And the feedback loop to the product designer, it was hindered. And now the product designer is part of the team. So he's part of the feedback loop of the whole team. And before we had the problem with the cognitive load. So if you have a team that has to deal with multiple products, there would be a lot of cognitive load. But now we still have some issues with cognitive load, because building a product is still a very complex thing. There's still a lot of stuff to build and to do. But we can actually reduce the cognitive load with our platform product teams. And we didn't have the chance before. So now it was a greenfield initiative, or it is a greenfield initiative, but we are not a startup company. So at some point we need to integrate with the legacy world. It's not avoidable. So because we have a general ledger that we need to be part of it, we have some common reporting in the company. So at some point, you really need to integrate with the legacy world. And so we have our shiny new world, this bounded context architecture with event-driven architecture. And on the other side, we have the legacy world with all those legacy systems that are really tightly coupled. And this will raise some problems, some issues. And one of the problems is that you have a lot of transitive dependencies. So let's say we have a bounded context, and that bounded context needs to communicate with the legacy system. And the legacy system is tightly coupled to other legacy systems. And now the legacy system expects us as a user to fulfill its external dependencies. So what happens here is that we have copied the dependencies of the legacy system. So what can we do about it? And we had the idea of an Icewall. So we thought we need some protection against the northern wilderness. And the Icewall is some kind of anti-corruption layer, but scaled on application landscape level. And it consists of several adapters. And these adapters protect us from all the dependencies and all that stuff. So we have two different types of adapters. So if your legacy system is mostly data-oriented, and there are many, many legacy systems that are data-oriented. So the most common system in the insurance world is the partner system. So it has all the information about every partner, every person, everything that had an address. And so this partner system has about 200 fields, and it's really, really difficult to make changes to that system. So what the data supply adapter does is it actually collects our integration events and feeds the legacy system with those information. So we have some kind of decoupling. And there are other legacy systems that are more behavior-oriented, like some SAP systems. And they need some SOA-like orchestration. So you need to make different calls to different systems to actually make it work. And so the adapter kind of simulates a bounded context for a specific subdomain. So from our perspective, it looks like we are communicating with a bounded context, although there are several legacy systems behind that adapter. And I want to give you a short example. So here are our two bounded contexts, and each of those bounded contexts produce a business event. So the adapter consumes those business events, and it feeds our legacy systems. And legacy systems are part of the legacy organization, and the adapter is actually a part of our new organization because we are building the partner. We are building the adapter. It just would have taken too long to convince the legacy organization to build it for us, because they wouldn't understand why we actually need it. And this is something that you should look for the long term. So you need to shift this boundary. You need to shift it away from the legacy organization so that they will take charge of the adapter in the long term. But it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time because learning in a large organization just takes a very long time. They don't understand what we are really doing. They are still think we are kind of crazy sometimes. So, so a short wrap-up. So distinct products are independent subdomains. And this was really a key learning for us. It's really sad that we had to we needed about 1 year to finally get this learning. And products are socio-technical systems. And each product should be visible as a product, as a social-technical system. So you should make it explicit. And one of the key things to build many products is to have a platform to lower the cognitive load and leverage the economy of scope by using those platform products. And one heuristic that we found very useful was the product specificity. So to differentiate between the product-specific behavior and the product-agnostic behavior. And the last thing is that you really need to protect yourself from the legacy world if you're starting on greenfield. Otherwise, you would just mirror the old architecture in your new architecture. Okay. It was a bit fast, I think, but that's it for my call. Thank you very much.